If you care about the future of your portfolios and your families as it pertains to AI, you likely want to watch this. AI stocks just cracked, but the market may be selling the visible moat and totally missing the invisible one. On July 17th, the NASDAQ fell 1.4%. NVIDIA was the heaviest drag, and worries about overheated AI winners deepened the global sell off. The obvious question is whether AI infrastructure became too expensive. The better question is this: if models became cheaper and increasingly interchangeable, where does the value move? My answer is organizational intelligence, the private loop of context, decisions, evaluations, and feedback that teaches a company how to get better. Models can be rented, but that loop has to be earned. And by the end of this video, I'll give you a 4-layer test that you can use on any AI company or your own organization to see whether its advantage actually compounds. The market move is real, but one red week does not prove an AI bubble has burst. The S&P fell 1% Friday. The NASDAQ finished the week down 2.9%. Oil and geopolitical risks were moving markets as well. And so this isn't just like a sell NVIDIA video. It's not a price target. It is a scenario test to help you understand the dynamics. Layer one here is compute, chips, power, and data centers. It's scarce, it's valuable, but extremely capital intensive. Layer two is models. They're increasingly competitive. Open and closed systems are starting to pressure price and performance. And layer three is the workflow. Can the model compute useful work at an acceptable full cost? Layer four is the learning loop. Who retains the prompts, correctness, evaluations, decisions, and institutional context that's created while that work happens? Compute gets purchased, models get rented, workflows get redesigned, but the learning loop compounds. And that is the layer that I would investigate first. OpenAI's new scorecard helps explain why. It argues that businesses should judge AI by useful work and cost per successful task, including human review, retries, and rework. That distinction matters. A cheaper model that needs 3 attempts to 20 attempts of just cleaning something up can actually cost more per accepted result than an expensive model that works in one shot. Model economics ask what the tokens cost, but workflow economics ask what an accepted result costs. And even that misses one cost: what the company teaches the system while getting the result. July 12th, Satya described what he calls the reverse information paradox. In the traditional information paradox, the seller risks revealing information before the buyer can understand its value. Nadella says AI reverses that risk. The buyer may reveal proprietary knowledge simply to use the intelligence it purchased. You pay once with money, then you may pay again with the prompts, corrections, evaluations, workflow traces, and institutional judgment that are needed to make the model useful for you. An evaluation set reveals what good means inside your company. Feedback reveals how your experts make decisions. Workflow traces reveal how your organization actually operates. If all of that learning accumulates outside of your boundary, your AI may improve while your moat leaks. Now, we need to be intellectually honest about the messenger here. Microsoft sells the cloud, agent platform, governance stack, and context layer positioned to solve this exact problem. And so I think that Satya is doing a pretty good job, and I think Microsoft's false, though. It means that we should separate the insight versus how an organization outside the context of Microsoft should think about this. And there's something that's really cool that's happening within Microsoft today that really, I think, starts to touch on how Microsoft is trying to empower other organizations to have almost this exact same dynamic. So this brings us to Microsoft's organizational IQ strategy. At Build, Microsoft described Microsoft IQ as a shared intelligence foundation. Work IQ captures people, emails, documents, meetings, and relationships. Fabric IQ models business meaning. Foundry IQ grounds agents in the enterprise knowledge. And then Web IQ adds current external context in a completely compliant manner.
On the web, every developer wants to be able to ground their agents on what's the most valuable data across the enterprise. And so we are bringing together Foundry, Fabric, and Microsoft 365 as this unified IQ layer, right? It's a continuously updated understanding of your organization to show you all of this rich IQ in action.
On Microsoft's fiscal third quarter call, Satya said the company was building a unified IQ layer for organizational intelligence. Microsoft reported 35,000 paid Fabric customers and more than 15,000 customers using both Foundry and Fabric. As somebody inside the bounds of Microsoft by day and as an entrepreneur by night, I can say that I played with and touched all of these tools, and it's very compelling where this is going to go. Those are Microsoft's adoption figures. They are not independent proof of a ROI or anything like that. But the strategy here is clear, right? Microsoft is not betting that only the model wins. It's betting that an organization that has organizational context that's organized is going to be the winner. If a customer's permissions, ontology, documents, workflows, and evaluations live within the system, Microsoft can basically route amongst the right benchmark here is the organization's kind of a strategic intelligence. The customer is going to need portable data, portable evaluations, and an orchestration layer that can change between models without rebuilding that company's brain. And that's where the economics here are becoming very interesting. Because model economics are asking, what did 1 million tokens cost? Workflow economics are asking, what did the expected and accepted result, or who became smarter after the work was completed? Now, let's apply the 4-layer moat test to any AI business. First is compute advantage. Does the company own scarce capacity or merely resell it? How sensitive is the business to power, financing, and hardware cycles? Second is model advantage. Is performance meaningfully differentiated? And can that lead survive the next release from a competitor or open weight model? Third, workflow advantage. Is the product embedded in a repeated high-value process with measurable accepted outcomes, not just engagement? And then fourth is the learning loop ownership. Does each customer interaction improve that proprietary system? Can the customer preserve its own context, evaluations, and institutional memory? And can it switch models without losing what it learned? A company can score highly on more than one layer. The key here is to avoid paying a permanent valuation for a temporary benchmark lead. For an operator, the same test internally. Pick one important workflow, design exactly what an expected output and an accepted output means, and then track retries, review time, exceptions, and failure. Keep sensitive prompts and feedback inside of an approved boundary and retain your evaluation set. Make the model the thing that's replaceable here, and record which decisions actually improved after each cycle. The goal is not to self-host everything. Self-hosting in itself is a headache. The goal here is bargaining power. Your company should be able to switch the rented intelligence without losing the intelligence that it accumulated. So let's assume we're inside two companies here, right? Where they're buying the same frontier model, but company A lets every team improvise prompts in separate tools. The corrections are being disappeared within chats. Their quality standards live in the employees' heads, but nobody can compare the outcomes. While company B stores the approved context, maintains a private eval set, it's logging corrections, routing each task to the least expensive model that clears the quality bar, even if it's the same thing or similar. And those in organizations are radically different around organizational intelligence. Company B's advantage is not that its employees have a better prompt or even able to prompt better or more cleverly. It's that every failure becomes governed evidence. Every correction improves a reusable process, and every model remains replaceable. Its system keeps learning even when the underlying vendor changes. And that's what compounding looks like. There's also a governance test. If an organization captures everything but gives agents excessive access, its intelligence layer becomes a security liability. Context has to remain permission aware, are going to need approval. Sensitive traces need retention rules, and a human owns the quality bar. More context is not going to automatically equal more intelligence. When you look at what is happening outside and what people are talking about, in the bear case, they're saying infrastructure spending is going to outrun useful demand. And then financing is going to tighten, where power constraints are then going to be even more impacted because of delayed projects. The model prices will have to fall, and then customers aren't going to be able to prove enough to get the money out of it. In the base case, AI demand is going to keep growing, but the value is going to migrate. Models are going to get cheaper, and companies are going to be very intelligent about how they're going to route the work across those various providers. And you get to this world of interchangeable intelligence where that governance matters a lot, and the workflows become actually economical, so that agent usage kind of expands, and we're able to lean on all these AI agents to make our life easier. The question is, what evidence is separating these scenarios? Watch utilization, not announced capacity. Watch accepted tasks, not token consumption. Watch your customers switching, not the benchmark screenshots. And then watch whether human review is actually declining as deployment is maturing, right? So our customers actually retaining those evals in the context as the models are getting better and better and better. Companies are usually never going to actually tell you directly whether or not they're measuring this cleanly, et cetera, et cetera. Management is much more going to talk about seats and tokens and customers and whether or not they have the GPU capacity. All of that is just an input. The harder question is going to be, what percentage of workflows are reaching production? Is the cost per accepted task failing? Is the organizational context actually portable between models? And does the renewal depend on demonstrated outcomes? If you lead a company or business unit and cannot answer those questions, you probably do not need another generic AI strategy deck. You need one consequential workflow that you've mapped end to end. The quality bar, the economics, the context boundary, the evals and the eval system, and then the model switching risk. And that is the work that I help leadership do at Microsoft, and then I help some of the best and biggest companies in the world do at Microsoft. I call it an AI moat and learning loop audit. If the workflow has measurable stakes and you have the authority to change it, there is a short advisory inquiry in the description. If models commoditize, intelligence does not become worthless. Value is going to move upwards from model access to the successful workflows, and from workflows to the private learning loops that make an organization uniquely effective. So when AI stocks fall, do not ask only whether the chip cycle has peaked. Ask the harder question. Ask the harder question. Who owns the learning? Because that is the moat that the market may be pricing wrong. This is all educational analysis, not a buy, sell, or price target recommendation, rather a system to help you get ahead as AI continues to take hold.